Official mission designation, Sweep Nest Theta. Location, Planetary Abyss Zone, V9 threat level. Critical objective, lure the apex predator out of its lair. Terminate with orbital strike once exposed. Bait, human. Name, Staff Sergeant Elias Crow. Crow didn't speak on the flight down, didn't scream when turbulence rocked the pod, didn't pray, didn't blink when the reinforced sides of the dropcraft buckled inward from the speed pressure. He just stared at the door, waiting, like he was the one about to hunt something. Above him, the alien crew monitored telemetry. Aboard the cruiser, Veil of Logic, Captain Trisvok of the Zarn Dominion sipped nutrient broth from a sealed tube, expression calm, voice clinical. Human biological stress indicators within acceptable range. His second-in-command, a younger Nyarak hybrid, tapped a clawed digit on the console. "You really believe this will work?" Trisvok didn't blink. "It doesn't matter if it works. The human is expendable." He volunteered. Trisvok allowed a faint ripple of amusement. They usually do. They don't know what fear really is. Another crew member snorted. "They call this one Crow, like the scavenger bird from Earth." "Fitting," said Trisvok. "Let us see how well a scavenger fares against a true beast." The beast had no name, no form that stayed constant long enough for accurate classification. Sensors caught flashes, bone ridges, 6 limbs, eyes that glowed and then vanished, screams that didn't echo the way sound should. It burrowed, it leapt, it flayed. It had torn through 3 elite squads, left only boots and shredded metal, which is why the Council had approved the bait drop. Send the unpredictable one, the Deathworlder, the one with primitive instincts and laughably basic weapons. Let the monster tear him apart, and while it was distracted, strike from orbit. Easy, clean, disposable. Crow hit the ground hard. Dust exploded around him in a red halo. He stood, cracked his neck, and checked his gear. Combat knife, silenced carbine, 2 magazines, and his fists. He smiled. They gave him a locator beacon, so they could watch him die in real time. He turned it off. Let's make this interesting. He didn't follow the mission path, didn't shout, didn't stumble, didn't wait to be hunted. He went silent, stalked, low to the ground, eyes wide, breath controlled. The forest around Nest Theta wasn't dead. It was listening. He knew that sound. He'd heard it in the Afghan highlands, in the jungles of Corin 6, in the dark corners of Earth where things still had teeth, the absence of birds, the tension in the leaves, the sweat that didn't cool, predator territory, and they thought he was bait. High above, the monitoring crew blinked. "We've lost signal lock," said the sensor tech. "Recalibrate," ordered Trisvok. "I'm trying, but—" The tech frowned. The human turned off his beacon. The bridge went quiet. Trisvok narrowed his eyes. "He what?" The tech hesitated. "Sir, I think he's hunting it." The silence deepened. Then, laughter, dry, disbelieving. "Ridiculous," hissed Trisvok. "He's delusional. It will kill him faster this way." But he wasn't so sure. Not anymore. Crow moved like smoke, found the tracks, deep, uneven. Whatever this thing was, it was heavy, fast, but careless. He crouched, brushed the claw-marked tree bark with 2 fingers, then tasted the sap. Still fresh. 10 minutes. Less. Close. He moved faster. The creature struck at dusk. No warning. It lunged from a ridge, a wall of teeth and bone and black chitin, eyes burning like torches. But Crow didn't freeze. He rolled under it, knife flashing, cutting deep into the joint of its lower leg. The beast screamed, spun, smashed a boulder the size of a car, but Crow was already gone into the trees, watching, learning, bleeding from one arm, grinning like a lunatic. "All right," he whispered. "Now we're talking." On the Veil of Logic, the room filled with static, then screaming, but not human screaming. The feed from the secondary drone lit up with a fractured image, spinning, shaking, covered in gore. The monster was in frame, but injured, and something was chasing it, something small, 2-legged, relentless. "Oh no," someone whispered. "He's winning." The data stream snapped, then silence. Trisvok stood slowly. "Call the strike team off." "What?" barked the lieutenant. "If he's alive and chasing it, we can't risk a misfire." "But sir, I said stand down." In the dark, beneath the stars, Crow moved through blood and breath and instinct. The beast was fast, but it was used to panic, to prey. Crow was none of those things. He was calm, tethered a spike to a vine, sharpened debris, smeared pheromone-rich fluid from the beast's own trail onto bait points, lured it. The creature doubled back, howling, but it didn't see the wire, didn't see the spring blade until it tore through its eye. It screamed again, and that's when Crow hit it. Knife out, low, fast, brutal. It thrashed. He didn't care. Blood sprayed, bones snapped, and by the end of it, only one of them was standing. 3 hours later, Crow stepped back into the extraction zone, covered in blood, dragging something behind him. A skull. Massive, still steaming. He dropped it at the feet of the stunned extraction team, looked up, smiled. "So, you got anything bigger you want to throw me at?" On the cruiser, Trisvok watched the footage. He didn't blink, didn't speak. Then finally, he whispered, "He was never bait. He was the apex." It started the way most galactic disasters do, with pride, with alien commanders watching the footage of Staff Sergeant Elias Crow dragging a mutilated apex predator skull back to the landing zone and thinking, that doesn't look so hard. Because on every council, every cruiser, every command deck, there's always one voice that says, we can do that too. The first to try was the Urkai Dominion, a warrior species, scaled and strong, proud of their kill rituals and history of blood sport. They selected one of their own, Captain Veshra, a decorated soldier, 10 feet tall with a jaw like a shovel and arms like plasma cannons. They dropped him into a similar hunting zone on planet Karthak 11. No traps, no fire support, just orders. Do what the human did. 3 hours later, his armor was found hanging from a tree. His body was never recovered. Next came the Isolan Protectorate, more cautious, more cerebral. They sent a task force of 3 elite scouts, each genetically enhanced, equipped with stealth suits and non-lethal containment tech. They were supposed to analyze and subdue a lesser predator. The same method, no external support, isolated conditions. They lasted 4 hours. When the retrieval team found the wreckage of their camp, the only thing left intact was the voice log. The final entry, "We thought it was stalking us." It wasn't. It was avoiding something else, something worse, something human. The panic didn't start yet, not officially, but whispers spread. Military forums, closed communications. The joke took form in every language. Don't send a man to do a human's job. And then, less jokingly, don't send anyone at all. Meanwhile, Crow didn't care. He wasn't watching the feeds. He wasn't reading the reports. He was on Outpost 92 Delta, helping patch up a broken satellite relay with a screwdriver, 2 wires, and a chewed piece of thermal tape. The comtech beside him stared. "You're the guy from the footage." Crow didn't look up. Lots of guys in footage. No, the guy, the pit, the skull, the screaming thing. Crow tightened the final bolt. "That thing screamed," he said calmly, because it realized too late that something scarier had walked in. He stood, dusted off his hands. And it wasn't me. Back on the Veil of Logic, Captain Trisvok held a private briefing. 3 missions attempted, he said. 3 failures. A young officer raised a trembling voice. "Sir, the humans claim they don't train specifically for this. They claim this isn't even unusual." Trisvok's mandibles twitched. "They're lying." "Sir, they're not." The room went still. Someone whispered, "Then what are they?" The answer came from the most unlikely place, a human report, an Earth military operations file accidentally leaked via civilian channels, not a strategy manual, not a weapon schematic, just a recruitment poster. It showed a human soldier in basic fatigues, covered in mud and blood, carrying a wounded comrade out of fire. No helmet, no rank, no glory. Just a tagline. You don't have to be fearless, you just have to move forward anyway. When the Zaan Intelligence Division analyzed the document, they came to an alarming conclusion. The human didn't survive because he was trained to win. He survived because he was trained to fail and keep going. Not once, not twice, always. A week later, a council was held, not publicly, not officially, just a quiet gathering of 6 senior command entities from 6 species. Topic: Human Threat Assessment. The Vel Raxa delegate posed the question, what if they're not exceptional? The room froze. He continued, "What if that human, Crow, isn't special? What if he's average?" There was silence, then panic, because suddenly the stories started lining up. The human who fought off raiders with farming tools, the pilot who landed a shattered dropship with half a control panel, the medic who stitched her own wound mid-battle and returned to treating others, the child who survived a week alone in the wild of a colony world under siege. Crow wasn't unique. He was just the first one. Back at the outpost, Crow got a visit, a Vel Raxa emissary, dressed in soft ceremonial cloth, accompanied by guards with stun spears. He didn't flinch when she approached. "You're being reassigned," she said. "Didn't ask to be. It's a council decision." He didn't move, just looked at her. Her crest flicked in irritation. "They want to study you, learn how you operate." He sipped his coffee. "You want to put me in a cage?" "No." Pause. "Not yet." He finished the cup, tossed it. "Tell your council this. If I'm bait again, they'd better be damn sure I'm not hungry." The message was sent, uncensored, unedited, and across the galaxy it landed with a weight no one was ready for. He wasn't bragging. He wasn't threatening. He was just telling the truth. The assignment was diplomatic, on the surface. Crow knew better. They called it Joint Observation Protocol Gamma 6, which was bureaucratic slang for send the scary human to stand in the back and keep the other species nervous. The battlefield was Caris Delta, a fractured jungle moon contested by 5 factions and 6 kinds of bad decisions. An unstable ceasefire hung over the region like wet fog. Everyone was watching everyone else, and no one wanted to be the one to fire first. That's where Crow came in. He wasn't armed. Officially, he was there to observe. Unofficially, he was the failsafe. "You're not going to fight, correct?" asked the Isolan attaché, hovering nervously beside him. Crow leaned against a support column in the forward command shelter. His sleeves were rolled, his hands calloused and idle. He chewed a protein bar like it owed him rent. "Only if things go sideways," he said, "and if they don't." He finished the bar. "Then I get bored." The Isolan trembled. The command shelter was half dug into the jungle mud, ringed with shield emitters and hope. Inside, half a dozen species argued over maps, resource corridors, and combat doctrines. No one addressed Crow, but everyone noticed him. His presence turned discussions faster than logic ever did. The Draxari refused to raise troop movement protocols while he was in the room. The Zarn ambassador kept his weapon within arm's reach at all times. One officer described him as a grenade with no pin, just sitting there, smiling. He wasn't smiling. He was listening, watching, waiting. Day 3, the ceasefire broke, not with guns, with screams. The Northern Patrol Team, Vel Raxa Elite Scouts, vanished. When the search party arrived, they found wreckage, torn exosuits, ripped armor plating, and no blood, not theirs. Whatever hit them had bled and left a trail. The base fell into panic. Species accused each other. Old grudges ignited. The treaty cracked. And amid the chaos, Crow stood, stared at the map, followed the line of blood no one else wanted to see. It didn't curve like a creature fleeing. It looped, doubled back, hunted. "What do you think it is?" the Isolan whisper asked. Crow didn't answer. He was already loading gear into a satchel, a thermal blade, a patch kit, one roll of grey tape. The Isolan blinked. "You're not cleared to deploy." Crow zipped the bag, checked his boots. "I'm not deploying," he said. He turned toward the jungle. "I'm going home," and vanished into the green. The command outpost tried to stop him, launched 3 drones, pinged 5 comms, but he'd gone dark. Just like before, no trail, no heat, no sound. And the moment he disappeared, the real attacks began. One by one, sentries started dying, not on the perimeter, inside. Within the jungle, something was moving, something fast, too fast for sensors, too quiet for AI traps. The base locked down, and every alien leader whispered the same thing. "Where's the human?" Then came the scream. Not human. Draxari, torn apart, inside his own mech, no breach detected, only evidence, a gash in the armor, deep, sharp, human-sized. The second scream came 20 minutes later. Zarn Heavy Assault Unit. Same story, armor ripped open, helmet crushed. The only thing recorded by the suit's onboard recorder? One line, human accented. "You shouldn't have run." Panic turned into paranoia. The camp's factions blamed each other. Old fire reignited. But someone, a junior Vel Raxa comms officer, noticed something in the death logs. Every attack was surgical. Every strike was controlled. No bystanders, no crossfire, no wasted movement. And then they realized Crow wasn't just fighting the thing in the jungle. He was fighting everything that needed to be removed. He wasn't observing anymore. He was cleaning house. It took 2 days for the attacks to stop, and when they did, the jungle was silent again. No movement, no screams, only one sound. Crow walked back into base, covered in blood that wasn't his, eyes sharp, breathing calm, satchel still full, except for the tape. He dropped 3 things on the table: a broken stealth drone from a rogue faction, a bone fragment from the jungle beast, and a list of 4 names. "Traitors," he said. "Handled." The room went still. Someone whispered, "How many did you kill?" Crow looked at them. Enough. No one asked if he had proof. No one asked what else he did out there. He didn't offer. He just sat down, reached for a protein bar, and ate it in silence. That night, the factions rewrote the ceasefire. It wasn't built on trust. It was built on the understanding that he was still there, somewhere, watching, listening, and waiting. They called it an advisory role. That was the official term. A neutral presence, a conflict de-escalator, a psychological deterrent with a heartbeat and very few boundaries. What it really meant was this: we don't know what's about to happen. Put the human in the room. And the human they meant was Elias Crow. Assignment: Itraxis Border Accord. Mediation location: mobile diplomatic vessel. Peace frame: 9 participants, 12 delegates from 5 warring species. Tension: extreme trust. Non-existent Crow arrived in plain gear. No armor, no insignia, just boots, a knife on his hip, and a weathered expression like he hadn't slept, but liked it that way. The guards flinched when he passed. The delegates stared. The Isolan negotiator leaned to her aide and whispered, "Why would they send him?" Crow didn't stop walking. He just said over his shoulder, "Because you're all one bad sentence away from extinction." He kept walking. They didn't whisper again. The meeting opened with pleasantries, forced, clenched. The Vel Raxori offered trade compromises. The Draxari spat. The Urkai demanded reparations. And the Zaan delegate, pompous and sharp, spoke with too much confidence. "We believe this conflict was engineered by human operatives." That silenced the room. All eyes turned to Crow. He sat quietly, didn't blink, didn't move. The Zaan delegate smiled, falsely polite. "You have no counterpoint." Crow tilted his head. "You ever try baiting a bear with cooked meat?" "What?" Crow's voice was calm. "Because I smell blood on you, and you're dangling it like you think I'll play." The Zaan's color drained. Crow stood slowly, walked across the room. Every delegate leaned back, even the Urkai, who feared nothing and no one. He stopped in front of the Zaan. "Say it again," Crow said. The Zaan opened his mouth, closed it, swallowed. Crow leaned closer, low enough that only he could hear. "You don't get to start fires and then act surprised when something worse crawls out of the smoke." Then he sat back down. The meeting continued. No one accused Earth again, but the damage had already been done. Crow knew it. He saw the tells, the shifting glances, the strained tones. Someone wanted a war, and they were building it behind smiles. That night, the Peace Frame 9 went dark. Communications jammed, power flickered, security systems glitched, and the Zaan delegate vanished. One moment he was in his quarters. The next, gone. No alarms, no signs of struggle, no breach. The ship entered lockdown. Panic spread. A search was launched. They found nothing, except a single human combat bootprint in the corridor outside his door, and a single message, handwritten on the mirror inside: "Lies rot fastest when exposed to fear." Crow didn't explain, didn't apologize. He just stood at the window, staring into space. The Vel Raxa captain approached cautiously. "You're out of control," she whispered. He didn't turn. "No," he said. "I'm the one you call when things already are." Within hours, the truth came out. The Zaan delegation had been funneling false reports to 3 war fleets, framing Earth, preparing a first strike. They didn't get the chance, because someone had already sent the message, and that message was named Crow. The Council held an emergency vote. War was off. The treaty passed. No one celebrated. They just looked at the human in the corner, still silent, still watching, still there. One junior officer later asked the Vel Raxa captain, was sending him a bluff. She shook her head. No. It worked, though. She looked out the window. It wasn't a bluff. It was a warning. Years passed. Not in peace, not in war, in something worse. Silence. Crow was gone. No announcement, no discharge, no funeral. He just vanished. Some said he retired. Others claimed Earth pulled him back into Black Ops so deep you had to dig through layers of denial just to say his name. And some believed he was still out there, not dead, not waiting, watching. When the new threat arrived, there was no warning. A fleet of unknown origin, black metal hulls without markings, ships shaped like they weren't designed so much as grown. They didn't demand anything, didn't send envoys. They just tore through 3 outer systems and left the space glowing behind them. And that was just the scout wave. The Galactic Defense Network scrambled. Species who hadn't spoken in decades now begged for strategy, unity, anything. None came. Nothing worked. Until one Urkai general asked the question everyone else feared, "Do we know where Crow is?" Silence. The Vel Raxa delegate cleared his throat. No. Pause. But if he's alive. They didn't send fleets. They sent rumors, scattered teams, whisper chasers, data scrapers on forgotten channels, and eventually a location, a mining moon, long abandoned, population 1. When the recon team arrived, they were cautious. 6 species, full armor, scanners. They entered a broken facility carved into the rock, found old ration packs, makeshift gear, and a wall covered in maps, timelines, kill patterns, photos of alien wreckage with annotations written in English, and in the center, a chair, empty, with a note, "I saw it coming. I went hunting first." Panic turned into motion. Earth deployed its elite. Other species followed. But by the time they reached the front lines, it was already happening. One of the black metal ships was cracked open from the inside, torn apart. No trace of entry, no explosives, just ripped corridors, and bodies piled like warning signs. At the center, a human-made combat knife, driven into the ship's core. Attached, a strip of grey duct tape, written on it, in marker, "Told you I wasn't the bait." One by one, ships began failing, not from strikes, from inside jobs. Someone was getting aboard, someone was ripping them down from the bones out, and no species was claiming credit, because they knew it wasn't them, it was him. The fleet finally stopped advancing, not because it was destroyed, but because something had scared it. And when a species born to conquer starts avoiding a single man, you listen. They never found Elias Crow. Not really. But stories came. Of wreckage marked by claw and fire. Of bunkers torn apart with terrifying precision. And once, a fleet carrier recovered a single pod drifting in space. Inside, a severed alien head, a protein bar, and a note, "Still hunting. Let me know when you catch up." He wasn't the monster. He was what monsters feared. And somewhere, out in the dark, he still is.